In this segment and the next segment, our next couple of segments, we're going to have with us and have with us right now Ryan Canuel from Pentricore Games. Ryan, a lot I want to talk about or kind of unpack as it relates to your story, but welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks. So, Ryan, you're from Swansea, Mass.
Yep.
Came up to school and chose Becker College. You chose Becker College, why?
So I knew that I wanted to stay kind of within the Massachusetts area, and being originally from Swansea, we're about an hour away from Worcester. I looked at some other schools that were a little bit further away, but then when I saw, Becker, they've been rated. I think the Princeton Reviews rated them in top for game design for the last few years now. And then once I saw that and I took a tour of the facilities, I knew that it was a really nice school. And where I wanted to go to, learn about game design. And
we're blessed in Worcester as it relates to the video digital gaming piece. Both Becker and WPI have consistently been recognized by Princeton Review and others as one of the top schools, as two of the top schools in the country in video digital gaming.
Yeah, them and then having Mass Digi here as well. They've been huge in helping us get started with the company, and then even when I was going through school, a lot of the programs that they run are really great for students who are trying to learn more about the game the game industry. If helping you get involved in networking events surrounding that.
Ryan, so we get viewers of all different ages, but for people of my generation and older, I mean, the thought that students today can choose to go to college and graduate with degrees like you did in video digital gaming. I mean, how would you explain that to somebody who? What is the classes you take, and what is kind of the curriculum over the course of years that allow you to graduate with that degree, and what does it get you?
Yeah, so I've already had to do this with my parents a bunch already. So, so a lot of the classes, it's your usual. You've got your general studies classes, and I think all those kind of do end up playing a part, depending on what you're doing, but. All those help out, and then on top of that, Becker tends to give a pretty wide range of things that you take. So for me, I was on the design track, but I had to do programming classes. I had to do
computer programming.
Yeah. So classes that weren't necessarily what I was going to end up doing, but to kind of give me a better understanding of what everybody else was going to have to be going through, and kind of that whole amount of things that they were teaching me about was really great for when I kind of transitioned over to wanting to be more in the business role. I had a good idea of what everybody was putting up with and what everybody had to do to get their job done, and I understood, I didn't know how to do it as good as everybody else did, but I knew, what the struggles that they had when they were doing it were going to be.
So having the computer element design, I mean, one of the things that I've learned through this process is, in helping secure some of the funding with Congressman McGovern for Mass Digi, which is the Video and Digital Game Institute for the entire Commonwealth, housed at Becker College here in Worcester. So there's the computer piece, which I think most people understand computers and what that involves there. But the design piece is graphics and how do you make them work and move. There's audio, visual, electronics, a whole bunch of things that go into creating a digital video game.
Yeah, it's good to think of it similar to a movie, like all the amount of things that go into it that you don't necessarily think about. We've got artists, we've got someone who does sound, people who make trailers for the game, so video editing, web development for the websites for these things. There's a ton of different pieces to it that all kind of have to get laid out. So you learn all the various kind of foundational elements of that.
Yeah. And now you just referenced that's helpful to running a business, which is what you're doing now. And one of the things I know that President Johnson and the culture at Becker is about kind of trying to promote an entrepreneurial spirit, getting young people like you and graduates of Becker to think about and encourage you to start your own business. So kind of what prompted you to do that, what went into the thinking and kind of the academic component?
Yeah. So senior year, I knew I needed to find something to do when I had graduated, and I talked to Mass Digi a bunch. I had worked on a game with them. They run a summer program every year. I'd been a part of that, and that game we ended up getting picked up by a publisher and working with them for the whole year of my senior year. So I got used to doing that, and then I had flown out. There's a big the Game Developers Conference over in California. They run it every year, and there's tens of thousands of game developers that go to it every year. It's huge. And I went there, and it was kind of like, oh, I'm going to look for a job. So I started going around, and I went to the different job fair booths, and I ended up talking to some, she was like a recruiter for one of the bigger companies. And I started talking to her about everything that I'd done and the kind of role that I was looking for. And she had said, well, you're not going to be able to get that when you first graduate, even though I kind of felt like with everything that I'd done that I could do it. She was like, you're not going to be able to get that. You just graduated. But then she said, with everything that you've done, though, this is really good, that everything that you've done, why don't you just keep doing this and do your own thing? And after hearing that, I was like, that's a good idea. So Mass Digi played a pretty huge role in us getting started too. They kind of gave me the push that was needed to be like, all right, because there was some unanswered questions about making money and things like that, and they've been a huge. Which
is a goal when you start a business.
Yeah.
Right?
So they've been a huge help for kind of deciding or like helping us figure out what those would be. Once I had answers to those questions, that was when we kind of decided to take the jump and start.
And launch.
Yeah.
Well, when we come back in our next segment, Ryan, I want to get into that business launch, Startup Worcester, which is a program you're participating in, and your continued work with Mass Digi, and the launch of your game and the success to date. My guest is Ryan Canuel, recent graduate of Becker College, a participant in the Worcester Regional Chamber of Commerce's Startup Worcester program in conjunction with Running Start, sponsored by Darrow Everett and Commerce Bank, where recent college grads with great business ideas can launch their businesses or pursue and incubate their businesses. Ryan, you're ahead of the game here. Pentricore, your company, Pentricore Games, has launched a new game called Mind the Arrow, which is a family-friendly, fun game, and I played it a little bit before the show. It downloaded on one of our coworkers' iPhone, and we started playing it. And I want to get into that, but let me just, Startup Worcester, you engage in that process. What's the benefit of being over at Running Start, working with the Video and Digital Game Mass Digi Institute, helping you kind of start the business?
Yeah, it's been really great. It's given us kind of a lot of media attention that we wouldn't have already gotten. Just kind of, it's really great to go to an event and bump into someone that I've never met before and say, oh yeah, I know who you are. I read about you in whatever publication that someone had done for us, and it was pretty much all thanks to the Startup Worcester program and kind of putting us in contact with a lot of those people. Nice
article in the Telegram, some of the local media as well, covering your company.
Yeah. And that's been really awesome for us. Just just to go back and show the team, like, hey, people are talking about us. It's really great.
So Pentricore, I ask, what's the name? What's the significance of the name?
Pentricore, we spell it a little bit differently, but the actual word means it's the pleasant smell after a rainstorm. So like that earthy smell, that's Pentricore.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, the pleasant smell of downloads is taking place. So, you launched this new game, Mind the Arrow, when?
So we launched. It's been about 5 or 6 days now since we launched. We launched on Thursday.
And the downloads have been incredible.
Yeah. So we were really lucky. We got featured by Apple. I think they've featured us in over about 40 countries now. And we've seen people, from all over the world downloading it. We've got over 100,000 people that have downloaded it already.
Wow. And how, in a short period of time, how does that measure? Is that?
Yeah, so in terms of usually games, you end up putting a pretty large marketing budget into them to drive that number of users. And so far, we're working with a publisher, and they haven't put any marketing spend into it. So for us not to have put any spend into a marketing budget and to bring in over 100,000 people is pretty huge.
So organically, I think it's a good network, but people are enjoying the game. And maybe you could just describe it to our viewers, what the game is, and please tell them how would they download it.
Yeah, so it's a matching puzzle game on it's on Android phones and iPhones, and it's for iPads and tablets as well. And it's a matching game with a literal twist. That's usually how we describe it. It's got you know, you got to get it starts to spin as you try to solve it. So you've got to be quick with solving the puzzle, but you've also got to be quick with the thinking to try to match the different puzzles as they start to spin. If you want to download it, it's called Mind the Arrow, and it's available. If you search that through Google Play or the App Store, you can find it that way. If we're still featured, then we were on the front page for a while under the Best New Games category, so we were there for a little while.
Outstanding. Well, our mantra at the Worcester Regional Chamber of Commerce is recruit, retain, incubate, and it's great that working with our colleges like Becker, we can help incubate businesses and create an environment that'll help them grow here. And you mentioned your team, and hopefully this becomes a worldwide success. You look to grow this company here locally, and what's your vision?
Yeah, so we're definitely interested in staying in the area. We've gotten a huge amount of support from Becker, from MassDigi, from the Worcester Chamber of Commerce. Everyone's been really great. It's obvious that there's an interest for game development companies to stay here, and with the number of game development students coming out of the colleges, I think we're in a really great place to be.
Well, Ryan, thank you. You've been a great guest and kind of helping us walk through and unpack your major and what kind of the mindset was to start a company here, and hopefully you can be that pioneer as Worcester and the region become a video and digital game mecca. So, and thank our sponsors again for this support and helping the show happen, Fallon Health and Worcester Bravehearts Baseball, and as always, you, our viewers, for joining us. If you want to learn more about the Chamber, worcesterchamber.org, or please call us 508-753-2924, how we can help your company, or if you have an idea, you want to start a company, the Chamber is a great resource to help you do that, start a company, but also grow your company, be more profitable and efficient. So we always welcome those inquiries. So until next time, Tim Murray signing off on this edition of Chamber Exchange, a TV show.